Okay, it looks like YouTube and Twitch are working now, so I'm just gonna imagine like that first 40 minutes didn't happen, which sucks because I got to talk to Emblem for a little bit. Looks like I can be on stream. But yeah, I guess I will redo the intro real quick just so it's on my YouTube video. So if anyone's been watching, just I guess just bear with me. But it should be the correct quality now. Yep, 1080p. There we go. It looks like it's streaming. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. Alright, take two. Okay. Well, welcome to the Game Engine stream. Let me go ahead and just introduce what I did recently and today's goals. It feels weird saying this again since I started doing it twice. I created a diagram describing how I want my data to be organized in the engine, right? Basically just defining like what constructs exist in the engine and who owns what, right? So if the engine owns like an app, and then like, or if like if you have a scene and then the scene owns like a physics context, those types of relationships. So I'll get into that when I show it on the in the recap section. But yeah, that's basically what I did throughout the week. So it wasn't a ton of progress, but it's fairly necessary work, right? Because the current engine is pretty messy. And for today, once I discuss the data ownership diagram for the engine, I'm going to go into trying to write like a code diagram. Basically describing like the code, all of the dependencies of code on each other, right? What types of like constructs that each module or section of code owns, right? And how they relate to each other. So just things like that, right? I don't know if I'll finish it today, but I should get some good progress in with it. And also, if I get the chance, I'll work on a threading diagram. And that will kind of be born out of understanding the data ownership and the code organization. The threading will be like another dimension that I need to look at to make sure that I know what threads exist, where they exist, what data the threads own, and how the threads communicate with each other. Those are all separate questions, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and look at the progress board really quick. Nothing's really changed on the progress board. I've just been writing diagrams, so have just gotten through here, just working on the architecture. So I'll be working on the architecture probably the next few streams. We'll see how that comes along. Maybe I can get some more work done this week. I will see. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the diagram that I have been working on recently. Just get a little bit of water. All right, so generally speaking, this is the data ownership diagram, right? the basic structure of it is we have engine data, which is a structure inside of the engine. And everything derives from this engine construct, right? So if we look over here, we can see we have these little boxes, and these boxes have certain information on it, right? So the first thing is it has the module where the code is defined for this particular type, right? It has this number which describes how many of this object can exist, right? Yeah, and then just the name of whatever the structure is. And these sections are just for like sanity, right? But they all still fall under the engine, generally speaking, right? So if we look at each section, we have the engine. The engine is basically a stack allocated object that is created at the beginning of the executable's lifetime, whether it's the editor executable, the runtime executable, the server executable. The engine will always get initialized at the beginning as sort of the top level object that everything derives from, right? So it needs to exist. I'm probably going to just define it on the stack and just go from there, I suppose. And then the engine has data that is local to it, and I will get into the specifics with this. But the general idea of these is that there's different modules that define what these objects are, right? So they'll be defined in different parts of the code. But as far as data ownership is concerned, these contexts or like these engine asset pools or the windows or whatever, these all exist at the top level with the engine, and things that derive from the engine can get access to these objects, right? And putting them here is sort of a very specific design decision that is opposed to putting them over here in the app section, which I will get into. Okay, so again, that's kind of a rundown of the engine section. The module data and the app data, again, are derived from the engine, so they are a part of it, right? If we look at the module data, right, we have these individual, modules, right? And each of the modules may or may not have shared data or like configuration data that's specific to that module type, right? And the reason this data is here in this region is because it's information that only gets modified when you switch out modules, right? So for example, if you have, say, an animation module, and that animation has like animation assets, maybe there's like some network information you need to register for the animations, right? That type of information that is like per module and needs to be registered when you hook into the engine with that module is assessed in this area, right? So if you have a particular animation from the animation system, that can be an asset. You would want to register that asset type with the asset module, right? And in that way, you can make your own modules, right in your own assets, right? And then those assets can just be registered in with one of these systems, right? And you can see here with the number of asset modules that can exist, there is exactly one, right? So there's not zero. You always have an asset module. You always have an event module, and you may or may not have a network module. It just depends. The actual way that I'm going to implement this is going to be very, or implement this, I mean like, place these modules as a part of the engine. That's going to be some more like code and implementation details that I will get into. But yeah, this is basically the data for the modules. As opposed to, right, data that exists as code from the modules, but it has its own sort of lifetime and its own cycles and like has its own interaction within the engine. That is what these are. right? These ones are sort of like systems that you would start up or close down, and you would explicitly interact with, and can be turned on or turned off within the lifecycle of the engine, right? Here over in the modules, this is stuff that only gets modified when you connect or disconnect modules from the engine. But these are actual like systems that have life cycles and can be turned on and off, right? So for example, the audio context, right? I haven't fully defined, like I haven't fully qualified here what constitutes the audio context. But the idea is you would have whatever backend implementation you decide to use for the audio context, whether that's OpenAL, that's the one I use. You can use fmod, conceivably, right? But yeah, whatever implementation you use in the backend, you know you need to initialize it and run it on its own thread, right? And fmod or OpenAL, they handle that threading stuff themselves. You just need to initialize it and use it, right? So since it has its own context, its own buildup and everything, it exists here in the engine, right? But we want it to be globally, quote unquote, globally available to all of the apps, right? You wouldn't have a separate audio system for every single app because you can only have one set of speakers, right? Now, it's not to say that I wouldn't inject this audio context into the app and then we reference it locally here, but there really should only exist one, and that makes it like kind of basically a singleton, but at the very least it exists inside the context of the engine. So when the engine dies, all of these systems die with it, right? I'll get some water really quick. Oh, okay. And I could get into the details about these different systems right now, but I'm going to come back to this because I want to kind of show the app, which is kind of the main meat and potatoes, as you would say, of the engine, right? So if we go back and look at the engine, right, there's only one of it, right? And everything derives from it, right? If we go over to the app, right, the app, you can have one or more. And I had a question mark because I was kind of like, I don't know exactly how I want this to look, but you know what? Yeah, one or more. And basically what that means is you could have multiple quote unquote apps inside of the same executable, right? And that's really useful in certain scenarios. The most useful situation is the editor, right? So the editor, you can imagine, has its own like context for like editing things. You have the editor UI and whatever, and you need to interact with that, right? But you also probably want to simulate a game in the engine, right? And doing that basically means you're creating your own separate little app that's nested inside of the editor. So why not just make an entirely separate app, like build it out, give it its own relevant data, right? And then you can just display that in the editor, right? So that's the idea. So, and in this way, you could make multiple apps, or you can make multiple instances of the runtime, and you can kind of like run them all at the same time and kind of like see how they interact, maybe if you're doing a networking situation. And also that kind of leads into the other thing, which I was showing earlier when the stream was messed up. But now I got it working again. Here you can see, and if you've seen the recent streams, you know I've been working on like networking for a minute. I can turn on like a server context, and I can turn on a client and sort of simulate that functionality directly in the editor. And that's cool, and it works as it is at the moment because the server doesn't really hold any state of its own, right? So all the server really does is just relay information between clients, right? Which is, has a myriad of issues, right? But is also like the simplest implementation you can add for networking. But yeah, you would imagine for a server, you would want to have more context. You want to have your own set of like objects to like be aware of on the server side. As far as like if you have clients and you're connecting to the clients remotely, you want to have your own understanding of where the objects exist, maybe some physics information about like where you want to move them, so you can do some like validation on the server side. And also the server should have access to its own scripts, right? So that basically the server can run logic in its own little domain and not step on the toes, so you would say, of any runtime that's working at the moment, or even just the editor at large, right? Let me go ahead and close this. So yeah, that's the idea of the app and why I would have like more than one. And you could also think of in a situation where, how do you say you have a client, and like the normal client server architecture, right, is and let me come down here and do this. Maybe I can create it real quick. You have a, let me zoom into server. Okay, that's good. And then we'll make a little one right here. Make it a little like this. Make it like a child. We'll say IP 10 dot. Give it like a random. I forget. I think this is a class A IPv4 address. And I forget. I haven't gotten into that in a while. Client, and then you have another client over here, right? So at the moment, this is basically the architecture of the networking, right? So basically you would have a client, and then it would have a connection to a dedicated server, right? And then this server has like a public IP address, and you can also imagine, and let me move this over like this, and put it on the path. Sure. Let's put this over here. There we go. And we'll say a router. And we'll put this on path. This thing gets all weird, because why not? Alright, anyways. So this is a public IP, right? So say if I was releasing the game myself as the game releaser or developer or whatever, the simplest implementation you probably could do is writing your own dedicated server, and then put it on a public IP address, and then clients can just connect to that said IP address. Yeah, and this is how mine currently works at the moment, right? You could imagine, right, where this implementation, and let me draw out something really quick. So the back. This would be a dedicated server. Oh, hey, Dragonif. Welcome. Nice to see you again, Mr. Dragon. How's it going for you, man? Let me just put this one over here. Okay, well, this is like a dedicated server architecture, right? And you can imagine, right, that this architecture, you have to support your own hardware as the game developer, and it might cost a lot of money to host those servers, right? Now, you still probably want to provide these, right, depending on the game. But another architecture that you could do is more of a stun slash ice. Ice sounds crazy. Ice architecture. It's probably a better title than that. But basically, you move the server, like the runtime server, onto the client, right? And then this server turns into basically a turn server, or I forget the exact names. It's all in the realm of like network address translation, which I'm going to describe right now. But basically the idea is, instead of hosting your own dedicated server, you still put out a server, which is a turn server, but you don't process a bunch of server logic on here. The whole purpose of this server is to establish a connection between the clients, like any remote clients, to the local server on the appointed server client, right? So what this ends up turning into, if we take another step, and we'll say part 2, and maybe I'll move this over. Yeah, I was about to say, ice sounds crazy, dude. That's wild. Let's see. All right, so once the turn server has done its work, the end result should be that we can basically get rid of this, and we can just have a direct connection here to the client. And then this one doesn't care, it just does this, which I guess it just wants to you know what, sure. But this one you don't have to worry about, because this is a local machine connection, right? But this way, the server like responsibility is pushed onto the client, right? And that just depends on the client's hardware, right? How much they can withstand and what type of game that you're making, right? But if you're making a game that only has a certain number of clients, maybe like 4 or 5, this can kind of push the bucket off to the end clients, and you don't have to pay for a bunch of dedicated servers. But again, this depends on the type of game, the client, and also there's definitely security issues with this too, because now the client owns the server. They can do some local stuff unless you actively mitigate against it. But there's only so much you can do, right? A broker server. Oh, is that what it's called? Let's see. You know, I know that turn is not the actual term for it, because I think turn is a very specific thing, right? Versus like a stun server. Broker server. Or go between facilitating communication and across different parts of the network. Okay, yeah, I feel it. Yeah, broker server. I mean, again, the main point is that it relays this connection to it, right? So, again, just depends on the game, right? You can also do the Minecraft thing where, well, I guess not nowadays. Minecraft has the whole dedicated server thing going on, right? But the OG way you put together a Minecraft server, right, is Minecraft gives you the client, and then you would just run the client locally. You would port forward your like IP address on your router, and then have everyone connect to your server, right? And that could work with this original architecture. You just need to provide like an API to set that up, and that's about it. This architecture is more like managed. Yeah, I don't know. Did you see the movie, by the way, Dragoneth? I'm thinking about watching it this next week. But more as like a curiosity thing. I don't know. Okay, what was the point of me describing this whole thing? My point was that there is a situation that you might want to embed two apps into the same executable, right? You could also make a separate executable just for the server, and then kind of like Minecraft, just run that separately. That's also viable, right? But this just kind of packs everything together into like one executable. You don't have to like think about it. You can just ship this and then just let it work, I guess, right? And I suppose this is all basically just a re-implementation of the Steam network sockets, Steam networking sockets, I guess that's what it's called. They basically define this exact API, right? If you go here, somewhere in here they describe like a stun or a what is it called? Where is it at? Yeah, NAT traversal, right? Using ICE, right? Which is kind of what I was talking about. So like stun is the protocol you use, and it works inside of ICE, but you can also use it under turn. And then there's a whole thing where you can make like a relay server where instead of like if ICE fails, you can use the turn server or the relay server instead. But that requires more processing power on your end. So yeah, I don't know. No, it looks too commercial for my taste. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people or like they're not messing with the movie. Yeah, but I got that like morbid curiosity. You know what I mean? I kind of want to just go and like have the empty movie theater to myself and just watch it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that next week. But I feel it is definitely a cash grab though. 100%. Okay, so if we go back to the app description, if I can get over there, right? I think I've made my case. Multiple apps, right, inside of one executable could be a thing, right? And if I make it right now, it can simplify a lot of things. Let's see. Hey, you just remember to have a good time. Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the goal. Oh yeah, if you weren't seeing before, I'm basically just describing like the ownership semantics of the new design for the engine, I guess, right? So like what owns what, where things go. I didn't really define this well before, so now I'm actually trying to. And basically the engine, there's a single engine, right? There's some module data, which is like kind of akin to like configuration information for the most part when you plug in modules. And then there's the app data, which I'm kind of at right now. So yeah, you could have multiple apps, right, inside the same executable, right? So if you had the editor, you have the editor app, right, that has all the editor UI, showing how you can edit things and whatnot. And then you could have like multiple runtime clients that run as a part of the editor. And then you can kind of test things in that way, like run them and see how they interact with a network context or whatever you want to do, right? Yeah, and then there's all this data, right? So all of this stuff has like particular modules that they're defined into, right? So the server is in the network module. I mean, presumably, right? You have the project module, which is like more like a project config thing. Might change that name or whatever, but you can also have like a scene list of like different scenes that are available at the moment. I don't know about global state. I kind of hate this name, so I'm going to ignore that for a second. Input maps, you would have a certain input map available at any particular time, describing like how you can like what's the current available inputs, right? When you're like playing the game, right? Like if you switch to a different mode, you might want to switch out like the available controls, right? Oh, and then I've had this in the engine for a while, but that also made me, I'm going to go on like a little bit of a tangent, like maybe think of something. On my Reddit, there is this guy discussing something. Yeah, this one. And let me come down here. He was basically describing like input systems and how like you interface with like input generally from the lower end API, like from the window, or if you're on like a browser, you get input from the browser, yada yada, right? And then he was talking about like character movement and then like having like different input states, and that's kind of what my input map is, right? And there's a few people describing like different ways of doing this type of stuff. And then I liked what this person said, because he was talking about sort of like an input map thing, akin to it. The simplest way to handle this situation of like input context is with a stack, right? So each context sets up its own virtual buttons, and then you update per frame based on like what you need. That's kind of what I have in that sentence. For example, your modal could push an input context, which it appears and pops when it is closed. And yeah, that whole like pushing and popping input frames, I thought was such a good idea. And I might use that in my input map, where instead of having a separate input map for every single little variation, you could have like the base input map, and then you can push like augmentations as like a stack. And then yeah, you just reference the stack first and then you pop off. So there's a little bit of like runtime cost to it, but I think it's worth it. Yeah. There was some guy discussing something. Yeah, basically. Yeah, lost on Reddit, but yeah, I like that idea, so I'm going to use that. Let's get back to the diagram. Okay, yeah, and then runtime UI, timer, apptick. The main points of these is that this data is local to this app, right? So if I'm running the editor UI and I'm running a runtime like game, and then I'm running like a server, right? The server has its own scenes. The server has its own app context, local app context. The server has its own like editor context, has its own timers, its own like app ticks. Any of this stuff is just local, right? So nothing steps on each other's toes is the idea, right? And arguably some assets should be globally available versus being locally available in the app, right? Like one example is like scripts, which honestly I still don't know a good way to deal with it, honestly, like who should own it, because the ownership semantics are very weird. So I'm gonna go stare at that at some point. Maybe some wisdom will get chucked at me. But yeah, that's kind of the main point of this though, is that yeah, we have this data all kind of like what is the word? All kind of like local to this app, right? And then when the app dies, all this data dies with it, right? And then any data that we need a reference to from the engine, we can pass as like a dependency injection into the app, right? And then go from there, right? And then also I was thinking, when you're creating one of these apps, you'll see that a lot of these are 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, right? So they're optional. Arguably the scene list is probably not optional, but I'll look into these. But the fact that they're optional basically means that there's going to be a little bit of indirection in how like we set up the ownership. All right, just give me a second. So I believe the idea for this is for each of these like objects to optionally make them available, it is going to be heap allocated. And then basically the app will just have pointers to these assets, right? So then they can optionally be added, right? And I do realize that's like not the greatest, right? For like performance. You usually want these things to kind of be like packed together. But at the same time, I don't really see the issue. Because usually the main issue for cache locality is that you have data, and whenever you're running it through an algorithm, you're making sure that when you grab data from RAM and throw it on the cache and it ends up in like the L1, L2, C, cache 1, whatever, that you're able to get like good clumps of data from the RAM, and most of that data that you're grabbing is going to be used in successive calls of like your algorithm, right? So the main thing with that is just making sure that you have like lists that are like tightly packed if you're going to iterate through them. And yeah, but if you have data that you're going to be referencing the same asset over and over and over and over, that's going to stay in the cache. So yeah, I don't know, should be fine. And then also a nice thing is once I'm actually making the final runtime, what I can do is I'm actually going to be aware of what the final requirements of each app is going to be at the outset, right? So what I can do in that case is I can just make a giant linear allocator and then just allocate everything up front, and then we're good, right? The editor needs the flexibility, but the runtime doesn't. So yeah. Yeah, and then I also just described a little bit of the scene, right? Like the scene will have this kind of optional data because you would imagine if you have a scene, the scene has a bunch of entities or whatever. Each of the entities, like an entity could have a particle generator associated with it, and that is kind of local to the scene. So you can imagine the scene would own the generator list, right? And then when the scene dies, the generator list dies with it. Same thing with the physics 2D world. If you have physics, the physics are innately tied to the scene and the entities that exist in that scene. So that data should be local to the scene and when it dies. And AI context too, that's local to the scene, right? So I'm pretty much going to use the same mechanism I use to contain these with like this. It's the same idea. It's just a shared data list. So I'm probably going to write some like opaque way of like saving this type of data to these objects, and then I'll just reuse it. But yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the description of the whole like data ownership situation going on with the engine. And again, there's a few more dimensions I want to get through, describing the architecture of the engine. And I will be updating this a lot as I go through, because I imagine as I get into the details of the coding for these, I'll probably move things around based on how the engine actually works, right? But yeah, that's pretty much that. Let me go back to my progress board really quick. And you know what? I'm going to update something really quick. I'm going to say create ownership code threading diagrams. Okay, there we go. I might add some more. We'll see. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna start working on the code diagram, but I'm gonna take a break really quick just because I had that whole situation earlier where the stream wasn't working and I wasted like 40 minutes. So I'm gonna take a break, kind of reset for maybe like 5 minutes, and I will be back and we can go and start. I'm gonna put 10 just for safety, but I should be back earlier. Hey, operator. How's it going? I'm just taking a break right now. So, I'm just chilling, but how's it going, man? How you doing? I had a whole like snafu with my stream not working at the beginning, or I was outputting to the wrong resolution, so that was very annoying. Oh, let me put this over here. Oh wait, let's put it back. Operator. I was just checking if you're there. Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a break. If you signed off. Okay, I'm back. I'm just moving up my table, but later. Okay. I am back. Oh man. Yeah, I usually, this is kind of random, but I usually do like a run every week, but I didn't this week. And it kind of sucks that I didn't. So, I feel like I might have needed the break. Because last time I ran, I feel like my legs were like mad at me. Like, what is it? I don't know. I may have like ran too far for myself at the time. So yeah, maybe I need the break, but I do still wish I ran. So maybe next week. Gotta get back on it. Alright, anyways. Let's go ahead and check out what we're doing. So the code graph, right? So I imagine the code graph, we're gonna sort of we'll build it out piece by piece, right? I think I was starting with the windowing context, which, I mean, I guess maybe I could think of a better name for this, to be honest. Let's start with something a bit easier though, so I can kind of get my bearings with this. What modules should I look at? Okay, let's talking too fast, man. Let's go take a look at the current modules, and then we can go from there. So if I take a look at the modules, we got a lot of options. Let's go with one that is the highest level. So that'll probably be either the particles or the AI. But I think I'll go with the AI. So let me go look at the code really quick. Okay, so the AI has an AI service, right? The AI service has an init, terminates, and on updates. So yeah, Fair enough. Let's see. And it just manages a bunch of state. Right. I think in my little like ownership diagram, did I put AI somewhere? Or did I forget to do it? I think I forgot. Okay, let's go ahead and add it. Oh, wait, no. I remember. AI context exists inside of the scene. Yeah, which makes sense. Okay, so yeah, all of this information or whatever should exist in the scene, which makes sense. So this will get turned into an object. AI context, huh? The one thing is that we'll limit messaging between different AI to a single scene. Is that what I want? I think that's what I think that is what I want. Yeah. Don't know this functor, by the way. Might figure something out with this priority queue. I don't know. All right. Anyways, we have that. The message is just a struct, so that's fine. And then the AI state. So the AI state is an asset, right? So yes, it seems like the two major exports for this AI section is the AI state and the AI service, and I'm probably going to rename this. So we've already defined this, but we'll go ahead and name it somewhere. So we'll go here, and we are going to call it AI module. Yeah. And the types will say whatever I called it over here. Let me delete this too. I don't need this right now. AI context, sure. So we have an AI context, right? So that's just, you know, the general context in which the AI live, right? And then we have the AI state, right? So AI state. So those are the two main types, right? And then there's the AI components. Ooh, the components. Yeah. Okay, that's another one actually. That is another one. And actually, I need to figure out the data semantics for that too. So if I go to my ECS section, we have a section for project components and engine components. My ultimate plan is I want to get rid of ent, and I don't have an issue with ent. Like, it's better than anything I really could code as far as that domain. But I think I want to implement my objects in more of like an object pool situation. I'll still use sparse sets and everything, but I want to manage the data myself. And I want the engine components and the project components to sort of live in a similar domain, right? Because right now, the way it's implemented is very hacky, especially the project components. These are super hacky. But if you look into the engine components, you can see a bunch of structs of like different components we can use, right? You'll notice that the components are specific to whatever domain that they're being used inside of, right? So a shape component presumably would be part of the rendering, maybe its own type section, I don't know. Maybe a clearer example is the rigid body 2D. This one should exist in the physics section as a component. So let me go find the AI. I think I heard someone message, but my thing's in the way. Let me just find this real quick, and then I'll respond. Okay, let me close this thing. Why is this thing in the way? just use that for your... What is this code? It's hacky. Nah, bro, it's hacker. What you gonna say to that? Exactly. Okay, here we go. Component. AI, was it AI component? I think I copied and pasted it, didn't I? Or I copied it, the name? Wait, AI state component. Not letting me type, it's kind of annoying. Okay, whatever. AI states component. Which, what? That's not confusing. AI state, wait, what is this? This is a component that holds multiple states. This is a state machine. I should just call it a state machine. And then I think the one over in the AI section. Oh wait, no. So this is the asset, and then that's the component. Okay, so maybe AI state asset, or maybe just AI state, or maybe even, right, I could have a separate section just for like assets. Let me put it over here. Okay. And we'll bring to front. There we go. AI state asset, something like that. I don't know. And then maybe like components, maybe? Basically anything that kind of exists in another domain, I'm going to give it its own section. And then put it over there. The front. Okay, there we go. Can't make it bigger, can I? I can. Yes. Okay, types, assets, and components. Types. Arguably, I would say system. Even though I haven't really defined systems that well, that would definitely fall under that category. System is such a loosely defined term anyways, though. I think I have like a specific way I define it. Coupling of state and init terminate update functions, and its lifetime is defined by being maintained with other systems. Yeah, just reading off my wall. So basically it has an init, a terminate, and an update function. Those are like the three basics, and then you could hook up any other events however you like. And its lifetime is defined by being maintained. So it works within like a greater context is what I'm saying with that second part. Okay. Yeah, does this fall under that category? Let me go look. Let me go look at the actual structure of it. Yeah, init, terminate, update, right, with the time step. So, yes. All right, take a quick stretching break. It'll be BRB. Okay, I am back. Let me go look at that other chart I had, where I defined like the little systems interface. It's basically this. And move it over. Okay, so this was the idea behind the system. I call this system handler. I wouldn't worry about that. But I have an interface for systems where it basically just needs an init, a terminate, and a get update. Or on update, or whatever. And basically, you just write a system and you just provide the functor, right? Over to the interface, and then we can call it, right? And then, of course, from the system handler, you could you have a vector of init functions, vector of terminate functions, vector of update functions. But I can imagine you can use this interface in other contexts, and it'd be fine. Yeah, but the main like defining thing about this is that you provide a system, and the system calls like on update or whatever. And I already do this to a certain extent in my, or no, I do this, but it's written explicitly into the editor, the runtime, whatever. Maybe I can show the runtime and show what I'm talking about. Yeah, so we have this whole chunk of init functions, right? And we have this big chunk of terminate functions, and somewhere in the onUpdate we have a bunch of code, and presumably in here we have this onUpdate. We have onRenders going on, which is weirdly coupled. Gotta figure that out. I'm not really sure. The whole rendering thing, I need to kind of look at that in its own like vacuum, I guess. I'm not going to worry about restructuring that right now. Oh yeah, and I have an onUpdate runtime, which has a bunch of other onUpdates, which are all explicitly being called here. So the idea behind the systems thing would be that instead of having these being directly called and coupled or whatever, you could just register a bunch of systems and say, hey, I need an onUpdate. Please call my onUpdate. And then, yeah. That's basically it. Basically it. One thing I'm wondering though, and maybe I should think about this, where is this? Where is this? This is just a code thing, right? AI system. Well, no, actually this does have data, never mind. This is the implementation. So where does this data exist to? Let me go look at my ownership graph really quick and think about that. Because here, the data for the AI exists right here for the AI context. But if it contains a system that, like this is a system, where is this system being called? Am I registering it with something else? Am I calling it inside of the onUpdate for the scene? That kind of makes sense. Yeah, actually, you know what? That kind of makes sense. So maybe what I'll do is, as a part of like the shared data API, you can feed like an onUpdate to the scene, and that'll feed over here, right? And then we can just have a little section for like, okay, does anything need like systems, right? So maybe I can, where do I put this in this hierarchy? Systems, huh? Probably right here. Scene system handler. I don't know why I didn't copy over. I guess these aren't grouped together, are they? Just do this. This is not in the scene module. This is either the app module, I mean the core module, or maybe it's the, maybe there's like a systems module. I might even make a separate systems module actually. but that's definitely not going to be like a runtime module. That's like a compile time module. And yeah, it would just be 0 to 1. Arguably just 1, honestly. Just build it. Scene system handler. And then basically what you can do, right, is when you create like an AI context, you just need to pull in a reference from the system handler and say, okay, I want to get some updates, please. Thank you. Right. But yeah, the idea is when you create this, when this gets created and then this gets added to the scene, we'll inject this dependency into here, and then from here, this one can go, oh yeah, hey, call me. So it'll say, get that pointer, call me, and then system handler is like, all right, I'll call you. And that's it. Yeah, and I kind of like that too, because then this whole little thing kind of works in tandem. It's actually kind of nice. Actually, we could do something like this. No, but then that implies that's part of the shared data list. No, I'm just gonna put it right here. Never mind. Yeah, okay. And then you can do the same thing here, right? So if you have like app tick, timers, I mean, all these need on updates. So these are definitely systems. So we'll put a system handler here as well. I don't know why it jumps like that. App system handler. And we'll just assume 1. It's fine. And again, things like the app tick, what it'll do is I'll make it a system where it just interfaces, right, as an app tick, or it interfaces as a system. And then all we have to do is just the app can just pass the system handler reference over to the app tick. And then the app tick can say, hey, I want to receive updates. System handler's like, all right, I'll receive updates. And the app just needs to send updates to the handler. And then that's it. And I guess we can do the same thing in the engine too, because the audio doesn't need it. Or actually, no, the audio might. Maybe. Input. The input definitely needs an on update, because it needs a place to pull the input. I'm also not really sold on this whole input generator thing, so I'll see. But yeah, let's go ahead and copy this, paste it, and we'll just put this right here. Okay, I like that. All right, let's get back here. So now, I don't know if calling it AI system is too on the nose. No, I guess that's fine. Yeah. Is that it? I think that's it for the AI module, actually. As far as like what exists in it. So let me make this smaller. And let me make these things sort of make it very clear that they're like their own things. Kind of an organization freak. Whatever. That's fine. Oh, it like scales it. Okay, let's go ahead and group it. All right, and there we go. Nice. All right, AI module. So if it's not obvious, this depends on some code, right? So systems, assets, and components, right? So maybe we should try and define these. So let's, why? Aren't these grouped? Okay, so let's go ahead and define those dependencies, right? So we're going to have a strict dependency of the AI module on a few things. We'll move this out of the way because this is its own issue. Okay, and then we'll call this system module, right? And let me think that through, right? So if we have a system, what would need to be defined in the system module, right? This is a new chunk of code, so gonna have to make some stuff up for now. Maybe just some pseudocode. I don't think we need any components. That's definitely unnecessary. There's no assets to this either. And I keep doing that. Okay, and it is the system module, right? So we'll say type. Or you know what? Exported types. That's better. I like that. And then we'll say system. The other two things were a handler, yeah. And then other than that, you can just define your own systems however you like, right? And just conform to the interface. So system handler, right? That's probably another exported type. System handler. Okay, that's about it, actually. To be honest, like, yeah. And then we'll just make a thing here, and then we'll just put depends on, and there we go. Maybe make this a bit bigger. Okay, there we go. Next thing, we'll do assets, right? And this will be nowhere near as close here, so let's move this out. Did I group these, by the way? Yeah, there we go. What is this? Oh, it just thinks it's... Okay, sure. So system module exports those as types, sure. Let's do the assets module now. Okay, and then if we go look at the assets module in the data, we know that we define like asset types, which is very necessary because we need to do certain operations with different assets, and that needs to be available, right? So we'll say, is it going to be a type though? No, actually I'm going to give it another category because it's not actually a type, it's actually data. Shared data. So I can just do this? Like, oh, because that doesn't work. All right. definitely not these. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Right, like if I want to register a new asset, I need some information about it. So okay, there's a few considerations to have with the asset system. The first thing is that we need to be able to uniquely identify assets based on probably their name or some type of like type identification. Type identification is tricky because I mean, you could do it with like a type hashing system. I think AK Elements is doing something like that in his engine right now, actually. But I don't think I want that. The main considerations for it is that we have. Okay, you know, I gotta think about that for a second. Oh, yep. Oh, is the TwitchCon? Yo. Wait, let me look. It looks like it's working. Did it shut off for you? F keys. Also, F keys, were you on Twitch earlier? Maybe your username is different, so I don't know. Catception, right? Oh, Fukuzosu. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't think I changed the name of the Twitch or anything, so it should be on there. I'm trying to think of anything else I did. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. Well, let me know if you see it though. If you find Twitch on your app. Oh, also thanks for coming by. Again, appreciate you. My dude. Let's see. Yeah, trying to figure out what is these asset modules, man? Bruh. Okay. So yeah, again, the issue I'm dealing with is that assets need to be unique, right? The names need to be unique. And I need to be able to uniquely identify them from serialized code, right? That's different from events, which don't need to be serialized because they're only a runtime thing. So I can just register them at will with an index and no one cares. Probably some weird linking stuff. You told me your channel was deleted or some... Are you clicking a link from YouTube? Like, on the current description? A little bit more catception. If you're clicking an old link for maybe like an old video. Oh, for sure, for sure. The only thing I can think of too is I did switch my stream name at some point. So maybe there's some like old links. I thought I fixed those though, so. But if that's the case, let me know, because I would like to fix that, if that is a problem. But yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I mean, I hope you're able to find it or whatever. It's kind of annoying for me. that doesn't work. Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, I'm just working on some architecture stuff, so lots of graphs, a lot of connecting things. I mean, they're not UML graphs, but they're, I'm sure I could go that direction if I wanted to, which I don't. It depends on, I don't know. I don't feel like, I guess if I had to, what is the word? Like provide it as like a professional thing, then I would use a UML graph. So, because everyone knows how to use those kind of, but this is just for me brainstorming. Okay. So yeah, it needs to be unique with a name for the asset, right? I could hash the name. I probably will hash the name and probably do it at compile time so that I can provide that hash into the like the types, right, for the assets. The only things, yeah, I gotta be careful about storing that and indexing into it, right? So, and okay, maybe I can kind of show what I mean specifically instead of just talking. So if I go to the current asset system, right? We'll go to the assets, and you can see I have all these managers for all these different types throughout the engine, right? So lots of coupling, right? Everything's right here. If I go to the audio manager, I define a bunch of stuff here about serialization, creating the asset, how do I want the asset to act, right? A bunch of config information. So the first goal would be taking this and moving, like, say this is the audio buffer into the audio module, right? Because, you know, that's where it originates from. But the other thing is uniquely identifying an asset and knowing which buffer to point into when I need to do certain like bigger actions. So if I go to the asset service, I have this ability to call all of these like registry, like to serialize all, and then a bunch of like these things here. Like if I expand inline, it's like a whole bunch of exported functions. Right, so I need some way to still do this, right? And the first part of that is being able to uniquely identify an asset, kind of like this enum, but in a like a runtime data structure. And then in the actual runtime, it'll be an enum. So yeah, I don't know. I made it, yeah, it had to, I had it looking the LSI Congru 100 or something. Yeah, that was the old one. I don't know if you had like, yeah, you might have had like an old link. I might take all my social media and change it over to LSI streams, just to be consistent. So yeah, sorry about the headache. But yeah. Oh, hey operator. Yeah, I guess you came in last time when I just started my break too. For sure. Get your cafe, my guy. Yeah. But yeah. So for this asset thing, I need some way to uniquely identify these assets and then be able to like index them, right? I guess the easiest runtime thing I could do is, let me find this. Bring this. Nope. Do that. Nope. Bruh. Bring it over here. Okay, here we go. We want an SD unordered set. Right? And it'll be ints, right? Or I guess to be more specific, a hashed string, right? That can be resolved at compile time. Not ideal. I don't love this. I prefer like a simpler solution. Or not simpler, but I don't know. The unordered set feels like a black box for me. Like I kind of get what it, like how I get how it works and everything, but like the whole thing where it can just expand and be heap allocated kind of bothers me. You know what? I might be overthinking it too. It's fine. But anyways, this is the actual like shared data of this. Let me go find the name of it. Asset types, that's what that is. Okay, there we go. Best viewers, and then you use like a circle on top of the B. Lots of Unicode. Remove the space. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's gonna be a ban though. Always the same message from the bots. Yeah, it's interesting how they get around the what is it? Like the filters or whatever for Twitch. And it gets stuck on my thing too. That's annoying. It'll go away in a little bit on my chat on the display. Damn. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what else to put in here. So again, the general idea for the asset module, right, is it just defines like a set of guidelines on how the assets should be, right? Like oh, like kind of like an interface, like, oh, the asset should be able to serialize these things, the asset should be able to grab its, I don't know, type from the underlying, or I don't know, like, you know, instead of me doing that, let me go look at it. Basically this, right? Like, oh, how do you get the asset info? How do you get the asset? A lot of this stuff is standardized. I do want to maybe chunk this asset manager into like components, because I feel like it's taking up too much responsibility as one class. So yeah, I might break it up a little bit. But yeah, just everything having to do with like, oh, how do you deal with this asset, right? Is all in here, right? And then like the specifics are defined in here, right? And presumably this stuff is stuff that would be in the actual audio buffer asset section, right? Like, so if I go to the audio module, we'll have the audio asset, and it'll have all the information on how to serialize it. So yeah, I mean, I guess the asset module is mainly this. I know there's a bunch of other types I could define here, but honestly, I'm not going to bother right now. Just because I think I'm going to have a better understanding of this when I actually like dive into the code. But I think for organizational, let me rephrase that. From an organizational standpoint, this is fine. So I'll leave this here. I'll add some more. Well, I'll leave that. I'll probably throw some exporter types in here in a second. But yeah, basically the AI module depends on the AI state. Or no wait. Depends on the assets, depends on the systems module, and the components module, which I have not defined yet. So let's do that. Component module. Okay. And same thing. Basically the same thing. I would imagine in the runtime when we know exactly what plugins we're going to work with, we can probably resolve this unordered set down to like maybe an array, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the set actually might be fine, to be honest. I don't know. I might be overthinking it. Let's just keep unordered set for now, and then I'll worry about optimizations later. I gotta text a job thing. Should be good. M component types. That's what I want to call it. Okay. And same thing. Yeah, we just define these component types. Like, we can register them at runtime, right? And the particular component type that we're dealing with, maybe this thing will do this. There we go. The particular component type is the AI state component, right? So, yay. Okay, and then yeah, this is the goal. This is the whole goal of the module system, right? You can define your AI module, right? And you can define your systems, you can define your assets, you can define your components, you can define where you want to like put it in the engine, like wherever it's relevant, right? And then from there you're good. Like, you just hook it up and then you forget about it. Instead of with the current situation, where in order to add this type of like component or asset thing, you need to go to the asset module, find this thing, add it directly in here, go to the asset types, add this asset type, define this here, go into the UI, it's like a whole thing. It's like a 10-step plan, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, but AI module, there we go. And yeah, we'll go ahead and add some more modules, and this will probably get fleshed out some more. So what else? What do you want to add? Let's do particles. That one's pretty easy as well. All right, what do we got? Emitter types, emitter life cycles. We got some config stuff. I believe this is an asset. Particle, emitter instance, yeah, because it's somewhat separate, right? Component assets ID to data, because you need some data to create assets. Add components to entities. I did something similar in my engine. Oh, like you're saying, like I might need some extra information about the data to index into. I get what you mean. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I wasn't thinking too far into it, but yeah, let me look at that. I think you should use add components. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna actually take a look at my asset system, the way it currently works, and then maybe we can like arrive at something. So the current asset system, right? If you go to the asset service, right? The first thing is, where do I store the actual data? Right, so there's a bunch of macros, a bunch of garbage. Where's my data? I always forget. I think it's the asset context. So if we go here, we have all these managers, and if we go to a manager, this one is a derived class, right? So we go up here. In the base class, we have this whole template polymorphism thing. And then we go all the way to the bottom after all these definitions. This is just all like usage code. And here's the data. Yeah, and then we have the unordered map to the asset value, like the actual cache. And then we have unordered map to asset info. Okay, so Let me think. I have the type. Template. Okay, because here's my thought process right now. The way the current system works, right, is we need to know what all of the assets are at compile time because of this enum, right? I'm trying to push that over to the runtime for the runtime plugins, so you can define those in the runtime. Right? Is ref just a shared pointer? Yeah, it's just a shared pointer. I don't like the ownership semantics of that, honestly. That's something I'm going to look into too. But yes. Let's see. So if I register it at runtime, where is the asset owned? Is it owned inside of the... Because that one would be aware of the type. Outside of the module, we would not be aware of the type, right? So it would make sense that the data would be stored inside of the module. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So then you would just interface with the asset service, and it would just need to know where to point to, right? Yeah, so I'm not talking for a second. I'm just kind of thinking the whole thing through, because it's going to be a lot different in the new system. And there's some DLL boundary stuff that I'm thinking about right now, because DLLs, again, the thing with DLLs is if you link them at runtime, you can only link functions. You can't share data unless both of them depend on the same library or whatever. So in this case with the engine, that's not the case for the most part, with the assets. So the data would need to be defined in the module. And then, okay, yeah. Well, it's literally, it's just an alias. I'm trying to get away from the whole reference counting thing, and start defining my stuff in actual buffers. But yeah, I think this is right now what I'm doing is the first part of kind of trying to understand where my data does go, I guess. Yeah. Another place where I really heavily use the references is in the event system, and or the shared pointers, you know what I mean? And I think it'd be better to just store it in a buffer, right? I was reading what is it? Game programming patterns. I've been really running into this book a lot. And then they've been talking about the bottom of this. This is the event queue. Some of the considerations for storing it. And it's if it's an event queue, then wait, no. Who can read from it? Where is it? Who can write to it? Yeah. What's the lifetime, right? So do you want to pass ownership, right? Do you want to share ownership? And then who owns it? And I think defining this just kind of depends on where you store the buffer for the events. And then, right, do you, if you're submitting it directly to a buffer, you could just emplace back into the buffer, right? And then just modify the value you get back is probably the most efficient thing you can do. I don't know. Yeah, the DLL thing, I did it for the scripts. The actual semantics for it are kind of easy. It's just like a lot of like the details. I mean, I guess it's just coding in general, but you know, the devil's in the details, right? Like where do I actually link it? Script service. Was it here? I think it's here. And all this garbage. Don't mind it. But yeah, I have these like. And okay. Also, I don't like that I have these macros just defined here. This is kind of like an ad hoc thing. But you know, like Windows, you have the DLL. Linux, you got the shared SO library, right? And then you just have this like load library for Windows, and the DL open for Linux. And like basically you just open the DLL and then you loop through and grab all the scripts from it. And that's basically this like get proc address. And you just need to match the function type. And again, it's just dependent on the platform, how you want to grab them out. But yeah, just making sure that you have the correct function pointer types available. You pull them in, whatever. And then do what you gotta do, you know? But again, you can't, you can't move data between DLLs that both sides are not aware about. I mean, technically you can move over like a void pointer data and like a buffer size, but as far as like named types, that's tough. Again, unless they're both like under like a static library, that's the same, right? Yeah, and a bunch of macro garbage. Was there anything else I was gonna say about this? I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. but yeah, like actually linking it, it's like 4 or 5 functions, to be honest. The rest of this is just like a bunch of like surrounding details. Like this is like compiling like my code at runtime, so it's just doing some like scripting stuff or terminal stuff, right? But it's like, you know, it's like those things you just build up over time type of deal. Not really like anything too crazy. Yeah, and then that's the idea for these new modules, right? Is that let me go back to where I was at. Like my scripts are using that system, so why can't I do that for everything else, right? So now all of my other engine systems, I'm breaking them into modules and doing the same thing. But the main thing you need to be wary about with this is just the shared data. If you have like a static library, and then you have like an executable that depends on that static library, and you have like static values inside of that static library, like you have like a global value or you have something just stuck in that chunk of code, right? If you have that static library like linked into like the DLL and the executable, it has duplicate copies of all the data, and that's bad because like if you wanted to do something in the scripts that affects the executable, it's not going to affect the executable if it's messing with static data, right? So basically right now I need to purge all the static data from my engine and directly inject the shared data that I need, right? Ooh, I'm gonna take off my jacket and be right back. It's getting hot, man. Okay, I'm back. It's been cold for like quite a few months. It's starting to get warm. Don't know if that's a good thing or not. All right, let me get back to my diagram. What was I doing? Engine architecture. Okay, let's go do. Oh no, I was thinking about assets, right? I remember now. I got like sidetracked. Let's see. My mind just goes all over. What is it? The assets. We link them. I don't know to. So it would be nice to have the assets all loaded into like a similar location. That would be cool. With the unordered map, well, there's nothing inherently wrong with unordered map. I could just use it instead of like a what is it called? Like I could allocate memory for it and then just reallocate it myself with the custom allocator if I needed to. And again, I might also just be overthinking it for the editor too. So you get the assets there. You agree to an interface. And then if we need access to that asset, So I guess the main question I should be thinking about is like, what's up with this manager thing? I think that's the real question. Like, what's up with this manager thing, right? It does a lot of things. And that's fine. But how do I want to expose this to the rest of the engine? I'm assuming that the modules that depend on each other will be aware of their types. So that shouldn't be an issue. And what I mean by that is, in this context, right? I have this asset manager. You have particular assets that derive from this, right? And it inherits all this functionality, right? And data and whatever. And you go to the asset service, and the service is more of like a front viewing, sort of what is it? Globally accessible access point for all the assets, right? So I just define all of the buffers, all the managers right here, and then I just provide this public API that's usable everywhere for how do I want to, like, I don't know, get the registry from it, or serialize the asset registry, or deserialize the asset registry, or create an asset, or whatever, right? But I'm trying to get rid of the globalness, and I'm trying to move to more of a strict dependency hierarchy. So I'm wondering, what is the place for this asset service then? Like, does it even need to exist? I'm kind of leaning on no. Actually, the only bits that I feel like are going to need this information is these function calls: the deserialize all, serialize all, clear all, right? These might need the handles, right? But I mean, what I could do is basically, we do need to store the asset somewhere, right? In some buffer, some whatever. I'm going to leave it as the unordered map as it is, right? But it's just going to be stored in the module. And then from like in the particular asset module, the audio module, right? And then in the asset module, in order to be able to call these things, right? We'll basically probably just expose like a API, or maybe do like an interface on the asset manager and say like, okay, these functions need to be available. And then we'll provide a pointer to that interface to the this like manager context, right? And then from there we can use that pointer with the asset index and then just run these functions, or not even the asset index, just run the pointers, and that's it. So yeah, that sounds good. I'll get more into the details later, though, but I think that's fine. I'm trying to think of anything code-wise I need to put into this graph for this. I could make this a map, actually. And then I'll say I asset manager. Right, so we have the type and then we have the asset manager. And then we can use the asset manager to do whatever we gotta do, right? And we want to export the I asset manager, right? That's probably pretty useful. I don't know why this thing does that. Nope. Hey, you operator. Hope the coffee's good. You were getting coffee, right? Yeah. Coffee. I'm trying to remember what I was going to put here. I asset manager. You know, I don't like the name manager everywhere, but I think that's all we're going to export as a type. The M asset types. I think that's it. Oh, and then maybe like a general asset service. We'll still have it, but only for like bulk operations. So with setting up an app. Oh, I got you. Okay, well yeah. Hope it worked out with the app, man. Gotta set up and everything. How's the stream, by the way? I saw you've been streaming a lot this past week. I was gonna hop in, but I had to work past like 2 days, and I was like exhausted. I was trying to prepare for this stream. Oh, okay. Get in there. Let me see. Yeah, maybe I can kind of show you like generally what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to like map out the structure of my engine at the moment. Basically, the current engine is super tightly coupled, right? So everything's like really intertwined, I guess is the best way I can say it. And right now I'm trying to split everything into modules. So I think I've been doing that since last stream. Right? A few people popping in. Like, it's cool. And I know I stream kind of infrequently, so I appreciate people coming in. It's like, hey, it's been a minute. Let's see. But yeah, like right now I'm kind of like analyzing the new structure in respect to modules. And I'm trying to figure out first like the data organization of the engine. And then right now I'm going through like the code layout. Like basically if I organize the code into modules, like what code depends on what other code, right? Like how are they going to interact and whatnot, what is relevant to what, right? And then I can define like very strict relationships. Yeah. Basically getting rid of most of the coupling, right? And the added benefit of you can write modules in the editor and then link them up at runtime, so you can kind of like build out like whatever you want as the game developer, right? Not revolutionary. Like Unity has plugins. I know Unreal has plugins too, but still necessary. I should probably put depends on right here. Let's see. Depends on. There we go. Yeah, the ultimate goal for this is I want to be able to like create my own plugins. And it'll be very easy to add plugins, right? Like that are distinct, and I can have my dependencies be very explicit, right? And that way, I can start adding new systems, and it should be a lot faster. Like, I want to add an animation system soon, and if I wanted to add it on top of the current engine, it would be a mess. Or at the very least, like adding like a new asset takes running through at least probably like 10 source files throughout the engine, trying to like link it up and everything. So annoying. Okay, anyways. The next thing I'm going to do is just continue on to another module. Yeah, I'm going to stop with the component module here. Do I want to define... This component module is a very loaded thing. I don't know if I want to start defining things yet. Maybe I should, honestly. Okay, let me go look at my current implementation, and then we can like deal with it. So if we look at the current ECS, right, we have engine components, which has a bunch of super tightly... Oh, I guess I'm taking an eye break. Just give me a sec. Ooh, dang. I definitely need to stretch my fingers. Jeez. Okay. Ooh. Let's see. I have this new follower who's Russian. He's 22, so naive, and keeps asking questions about game development. I try to help him, but he doesn't really listen. He says stuff like he wants to use some obscure game engine with little to no documentation, along with saying he will start by making game mechanics, but he doesn't know what game to make. He seems a bit manic. Yeah, that's kind of tough. I mean, I kind of feel it like sometimes, like it's weird. I kind of relate to him in a way, but what is it called? Yeah, he just needs to figure out some kind of like direction for himself, and he seems like maybe he's just pressuring himself too much, and also like yeah, I don't know. Or everyone I was gonna say. Oh yeah, actually, operator, what engine is he looking at using? I feel like he should, like, maybe he should just define like what is his goal, and then maybe I don't know, like just find the path of least resistance first, right? Like for me, right? Like I'm writing an engine, like I'm not making a game, you know what I mean? So like I'm already aware that like that's mostly what I'm going to be doing, right? But yeah, if your goal is to make a game really quick, like you should figure out what makes the most sense. Oh yeah, Torque 3D. Yeah, I've seen that a few times. I heard the documentation was kind of like but I do also know. I think I've heard of a lot of people using Torque 3D. Let's see, Torque 3D, Torque 2D. Where's the docs? Let's go take a look. Just choose a game to make the base. Yeah, right. Like choose a game, define what you want, or I mean, he could just try making like me, just make Pong, and then just go from there, right? And figure out what he wants. I mean, yeah. Again, I hope he figures it out. I don't know. Why you need component module or asset module? Let's say you're implementing an animation system, you will have a lot of assets and components in it, and for each of this will be a separate module. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, Michael J. And maybe I'm just getting stuck in... like, the previous way that I coded the engine. So maybe I'm like referencing it from that perspective. I do think I had a reason though, for at least for the asset one. I think for the assets, as far as like having like an interface for interaction with it, and then being able to, being able to load all the assets and literally, yeah. Would you even need to do that? If you load in the module, you could just load in the assets from that inside of that module. Would you even need to reference it globally? Or not globally, but like be aware of it. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Should this still be a separate module? Oh, well, I mean, as far as... Okay, well, at the very least, for the argument of whether there should be an asset module at all, the way I define modules is it's a chunk of code, right? And I kind of see the asset module as the contract. Like, we'll have an interface, and that'll be like the contract of like, what is an asset, right? So that we can all kind of like agree on what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. So like, just for like normalcy in the engine, I guess, and then maybe like when you create a module and you define its assets, it's like, okay, we're gonna serialize, we're gonna deserialize in this like agreed upon way, and then yeah, if I need to reference it, I can be like, okay, I'm gonna use its interface and say we're gonna call it from some dependent code, right? So yeah. Also, another thing is if I open the editor, I see you, operator. I'm just trying to respond to his question. Like, if I'm making my editor executable, this definitely needs to be aware of all the assets, and it needs to agree to some sort of interface. At the very least, so I can kind of like look at the asset viewer and be like, okay, like the asset viewer has a handle, a type, a file location, a checksum, right? And then we can like kind of agree on that. Oh, okay, this is what an asset looks like, and then from this editor's perspective, I can kind of get that common functionality. Yeah, so that's why I would need like a section of code just for that. But again, the assets module doesn't define the actual implementation, it just defines the contract, if that makes sense. And then same thing for here, right? Like if we have different assets, we want to like be like, okay, like how do I interact with it? Do I open scripts, whatever? I could define that UI in the actual module itself. But as far as like just common functionality, it would need to adhere to the interface. Yeah. Thanks for making me think it through. I was like, I had to think for a second. Do you ever get manic or weird people come into the chat other than people trying to sell stuff? Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, like the community is pretty chill. Like, everyone's kind of like on the same page about like coding. Like, okay, we're talking about coding. We're not, going too crazy. I don't mind jokes, but like it's just like, like at a certain point, it's like you gotta have like boundaries, right? And that was like definitely for me, right? But yeah, operator, like to answer your question, I definitely have had that before. Operator, me, that one time I tried finding a song that was played for 20 minutes because I forgot to start freaking out. The room starts shaking. Oh god. Yeah, no, I definitely don't argue that. Fukuzosu. You know what's something I just realized like is like I hate that term, but like ick. It's like an ick for me. Like you know how some people get really weirded out by the word moist? Like moist, bro. Right? Like for me, I feel like for coders, it's like when someone comes and says code smells. It's like I don't know. Like when someone says that and then they say it like in a certain way, like it kind of icks me a little bit. It's like, yeah, dude, your code smells. Like, dude, are you like in my house, like smelling my code? Like, I get that it's like a term, but it just freaks me out. Insane. Yeah, I was talking about the asset thing. Okay, yeah, back to diagram. Fukuzosu, you testing your luck, man. Okay, I'm gonna turn the chat away for a second. Moist. I think my sister hates that word. Moist. I don't know, man. Are you gonna stream soon, operator? Oh no, you can focus on so yeah, we're just talking about icks, I guess. Are you maybe tomorrow? Okay, for sure. Oh, tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, I gotta work on Saturday. Damn. Well, I'll watch the VOD though. I'll check out what you're doing. I saw you were working on that like carousel towards the end of your last stream. Where was I at? Okay, I was doing some module stuff. Oh yeah, Torque 3D. Yeah, does the docs really suck that bad? Let me go look. I know this is like an old code base. Okay, okay. For sure. Yeah, I can't wait to see it like in production, you know? You're still thinking about that or you're still working on that like that new project? Or is that just like a general asset you might like put in somewhere? I decided recently to make my rides inherit from one class. Always a new product. Okay, I feel that. I decided recently to make my rides inherit from one class, as most of the rides use a simple rotation system. Use my rides inherit. Oh, so you can get that common functionality. I got you. Yeah, fair enough, yeah. I need to get back to some game dev. I've been doing audio stuff mostly for the last month. I mean, I need to get back to game dev. I've just been doing engine stuff. You've been making music though? Yeah, yeah, he's making this whole what is it? You were saying it was like an intro area, right? It was like the first place you come into, and that's like that's the first map. And you got a bunch of like he was making a few other like a Ferris wheel and everything too. Oh, an audio plugin too. Okay, I got you. I want to get into audio stuff too. That sounds fun. I always have these like big ideas about what I want to make it into. Like, oh, I could add a MIDI interface, and then you could like interface with it on the engine. You know, and then you could like I'm gonna add all these custom synthesizers and stuff. I don't know. What like my mind goes too far in like one direction every time I like think about making something new. One thing I do want to do is I want to follow Javid X9's like audio tutorial. It's like a nice little starter. I don't know if you've seen this one, but he makes like a little audio synthesizer with like noises, he makes oscillators, like a wave out, little stuff. Yeah, it's like a little mini series. It's pretty cool. And yeah, he just synthesizes stuff directly in the game. Like a carousel, both rotate from the center. Just yeah, like they use a similar mechanism, right? Just need to throw in a variable or an int to determine the axis of rotation and timing is on, and then that would be the polymorphism, right? I plan to make a roller coaster too. Oh yeah. Are you gonna use like splines and stuff for the roller coaster? That sounds like fun. Let's see. There's some guy making a DAW using Godot UI and has some crazy stuff. What is a DAW? I don't know what a DAW is. Sounds cool though. Yeah, or you know what? Maybe I used the wrong term. I think it's inheritance. Polymorphism is I confuse the OOP like jargon. Polymorphism is what is it called? Like I can think of it in my head, but the words won't come out. Like it's basically being able to have a bunch of like child classes, and then you can reference them from the parent class, right? And kind of treat them the same, kind of like an interface, but you can do it with a general parent class too. I believe like the usage of that is like being polymorphic, right? Like, oh, it can resolve down to like whatever you want based on the vtable, or I don't know what. Well, yeah, Unreal C++, so it is a vtable, yeah. Like the audio engine is custom C++. Oh, and a vtable is just a bunch of function pointers, by the way. It's like all it is. It's like, oh, okay. The base class, what's the actual function we're going to call? We're going to point to the function in the child class. And there you go. Is that what you... okay, digital audio station, workstation, basically the program. Is it like FL Studio type of deal? Or what's that other Mac one they have? I always forget the name. But yeah, I mean, I'm on the page, so Ableton, yeah. Close my thing for no reason. Yeah, gotta love Javid X9. He has so many little like useful bits. Okay, no wait, I wanted to see what was up with this though. They got the release notes. I got some kids playing outside. I'm gonna close this window. Just give me a sec. Bump up max texture. These are just fixes, right? Let's see. Intro. 3D, they got an SDK, minimum, sure. They have MySQL, okay, sure. I see databases being used a lot with these types of things. I think, what's his name? The guy who makes the Kohi engine, Travis Vroman. I think he's recently been doing like a database kind of thing with his game logic. It's kind of cool. That's the pipeline. Let's see. FL Studio is one, for example. Yeah, my friend makes music. He pretty exclusively used FL Studio, but I know the other ones have like good benefits and whatnot. Getting a copy. Yeah. I just want to see like. Oh, they separated into... Oh, that's nice. Oh, Cubase. Cubase. Never heard. Oh, that's actually not too bad for like a audio. I think FL Studio is more expensive. If you buy like the... well, they do that like tiering thing that companies love doing nowadays. Oh, okay, yeah, here's the tiering thing. There you go. Oh, you have to pay for the... No, if it's FL Studio, you have to pay for the base edition too. Yeah. Oh, per month? Really? Damn. Bro, I need to get into making this stuff. $99 a month, damn. No, I chose the open source route, which is vibey, but also kind of brokey. See, the top ones are pretty good. 95%. Good as comfort. Cubase is more expensive relatively. You can get light versions. FL Studio is like $500 for lifetime updates. Yeah, you used to be able to just buy FL Studio. I mean, I guess that's just all software, right? I mean, operator, you were talking about your modeling software where you bought it, but then they switched up to subscription. Yeah, that's annoying. I got mine with the audio interface. Oh, I get it with the audio interface. I've been meaning to buy one of those because I play guitar. I want to try to play it into the computer. I hear Ableton's good. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, what do you mean, operator? Like the transition into the subscription, or like the way they let you keep the original one? Oh, you mean like it coming with the audio interface? I got you. Really? Wait. Are we talking about like a hardware audio interface or a software audio interface? I want to buy like a hardware one. Oh, okay. Huh. for sure. I didn't know that. Oh, the zebra transferring over companies. I got you. Right. Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, again, I have so many ideas for like my game engine, right? I'm like, oh, I want to make like dynamic audio, split it into stems, and then like you can make like dynamic music, but then it's like a whole bunch of audio tracks being played at the same time. I don't know, there's so many ideas. I don't know. I gotta calm myself down, you know? Like, okay, we're just trying to make a game, like a little game, and then go from there. Right? And you guys have gone through quite a few of the softwares. I'm literally like just FL Studio. That was it. Maybe I should branch out a little bit. I don't know. All right. Anyways, particle service. Let's see what's happening in here. So we have a system here, right? Also on render on scene event is silly. I'm not doing this anymore. I get why there's a scene event because basically the service is owned by the scene, but I think instead I'm just going to inject the scene as a explicit dependency, and then I don't have to do this because yeah, the particle system really should or the particle system context really should only exist as a sub module of the scene because that's where it's relevant, right? Add emitter, yeah, you can do all this. That's cool. Emitter instance is just the runtime version of it, so I don't care. Particle, I don't care, although could probably get away with some unions here. Emitter config, this is an asset. So it looks like I just have one asset and one service to export. So that's not too bad. Oh, I seen Scarlet Audio. I think that was the one I was looking at. Get a free one very cheap, like Reaper. Okay, Reaper. I haven't heard of that one before. Oh, you work as an audio producer. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Version you can try for free and buy for $6. Oh, okay. I got you. Linux of DAWs though. Okay. I get what you mean. You need to tinker a little bit. You gotta be in the trenches a little. A little bit, right? Maybe requires more setup. No, but it's quite good. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up on the other screen real quick, but I'm gonna look at my. I forget if I signed in my Amazon. I don't think I did. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's using the VPN. Thinks I'm here. All right. Reaper audio interface. Maybe I can buy it from the website too. Yeah, I see Scarlet everywhere. Like, that's why I recognize that one. Reaper though. Yeah, I might have to go to the website, huh? Oh, okay, yeah. Now I feel silly. Wait. Okay, wait. Let me see what Reaper actually is. Hold on. Let me redeem myself. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, now that I think about it too, I'm it's like a Linux for like an audio interface. I'm like, isn't it just hardware? Yeah, this makes more sense. I believed it though. I was like, yeah. Like costs not so much. Yeah, I guess so. Right, you just want to get it done, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and also like I've used FL Studio for like a while. I am nowhere near an expert, but I remember when I think I started using FL Studio when I was in high school, and I was making like some random tracks, so it was kind of fun. And then my friend, I showed him some of my music, and then he started making music, and then he actually like took it and then like kind of got like a little following going from it. Like he's been mixing people's music for a while, and he has like his own thing. Yeah, I remember asking him a few times to like teach me how to do it, and I feel like he teaches me and then I forget. Maybe I'll do it one more time. I'll come back and actually try to make something. Okay. I'm gonna note Torque 3D to check out later. Because I'm just curious about the documentation. I kind of want to look at it. Just gotta put in the time, right? And with my software, it's gonna be a good 10 years. Let's see. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I think I know what to put in the particle thing though. All right, let's go make a particle module. So we'll do this. Bring it over. Is this? Okay, no, that's fine. Particle module. All right, there is a system. It is the particle system. Is that a good name for it? I don't know. But yeah, we'll do that. So it doesn't have an asset. It does. It has an emitter asset. There we go. Does it have a component? I think it does. Yeah, I think it's called emitter component. Let's see. Yeah, that was the will to make art and code. I don't know. Don't mind me. Okay, so the particle system is going to depend on... Oh, this is already gonna get messy, isn't it? You know what, instead of doing this, I know we love our lines. Lines are great. I'm gonna do this instead. I'm gonna say... We'll have it just like a dependency list. Or you know what? I'll make it a part of the module then. That'll be easier. Okay, we'll do this right here. Yeah, hopefully after I make these diagrams, dependency modules, like I'm making the diagram. I don't usually make diagrams. I usually just code, right? But I'm hoping with these diagrams, I can kind of tease out a bunch of like issues, and I won't code myself into a hole like I already did, and then code myself out of that hole, and then code myself into another hole, and rinse and repeat, right? System module. Okay. Let me go look at these again. Component module. Okay. Yeah, let me go look at these again. Let's go see. Was there something else I included? Asset, event, time step, base, interpolation, math. Yeah, these are fine. I mean, arguably I could make math a separate module. No. I think I want it to be part of the core. Yeah, so this is good. What was the other one? I think it was the AI module. Was there something I depended on here? EUID script service. Oh yeah. Fair enough. Well, that's it. Just a script service, right? And then we're about here. Hey, yo. The scene, right? So scenes module. I'm gonna pull this away for a second. Scenes module. Wait, no, what am I doing? No. Just this one, bring it out. Okay, so we'll say scene module. And file system module. I don't like that name. I don't even know file system. Yeah, I guess so. Arguably, I don't know if this should be a module. No, you know what? Yeah, I'll make it a module. It's just code. It's fine. What's up with the time module? Wait, utility. Yeah, those are just the scripts. Yeah. Scripts. You guys don't see what I'm doing. I'm just looping through some stuff right now. Okay, get time. So we use the time here? Yeah, okay. Do I have a time module? Timer module. Okay, I'm just gonna say the time module is a thing, because the actual location where it's defined is in glfw. But I can see a situation where it's a bit different, so... But also, over abstraction is kind of like... can kind of be unnecessary. Where would it... I can see more of an argument for the file system module. The time, actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll make it a module. Yeah, no, that's fine. What else? I think that's it. Oh, the script module. Yeah. Okay, there we go. And then we can make this all one big group. And then bring this down. Not like that. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna worry about dependencies right now. Oop, oh, that was the wrong one. Not that. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about this right now. And I can define my dependencies a little stronger later. I think I just want to focus on getting the code defined. But I do want to keep this for reference. So let's cut that, and then we'll put it over here. There we go. I don't know what's up with this software. It keeps doing that. Okay. Let's bring this back. On to the next one. Time's at 6. I got about 2 more hours. I think what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna take a quick break and go ahead and delete something real quick. I have like a video that just got posted and it's not supposed to be there. I'll close the hello screen for a second. I think I unlisted it, but I should delete it. Shorts. Okay. Let's delete that. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break. Eyes are kind of hurting, and I think I need to refocus my brain. So yeah, BRB. Ooh, okay. I am back. Wait. Got a message. Nope. Never mind. Alright. Let's continue. And you know what? Let me do some actual coding for a little bit. Just take a break from all the diagrams. Getting kind of bored. So yeah, let's take a little detour. I'm gonna go to Cargano. I'm gonna go to the core, and I think somewhere here I have the notifier. I think first thing I'm gonna rename this to listener. It's fine. Notifier, observer, sure, whatever. I think I'm just gonna make like a callback, a generic callback type. Should be pretty easy. Okay, and you know what? I'm just gonna grab the notifier. So the notifier basically has to manage like multiple observers, right? And then feed whatever event that it receives to all the observers, right? So it has to maintain like a list. A callback does not care about any of that, so it's gonna be a lot simpler. Very, very nice. Let's just copy the whole thing. Press Control V for some reason. Let me make sure I didn't break this. No, I didn't. Okay. Yep, callback, and then let's just do that. Oh, the callback assumes void. Is that fine? I mean, I don't think I've ever done like a return value for like my event system or anything like that. But maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, what happens with the callback, right? You have the object that is the, I guess you call it a notifier, right? But I'm not calling it that. But yeah, you have the context where you assign with the callback. You assign the callback function, and then that's it, right? So we'll stick it with notifier for a second. Yeah, this essentially just becomes Like, this isn't going to be a vector. This is just going to be this. No bit field, none of that. I mean, I guess we can say m callback is null pointer. It's probably should be like a cleaner way of doing this. I don't know. Remove observer. It's the same thing as that. It doesn't matter. Add observer. Set callback is better. Func, and then I don't care about any of this. I guess there's an std move. Sure. Let's go to the notifier. Then we'll say yes. It just sounds kind of convoluted, but sure. Okay, that's it. Easy as that. So now it's basically just a. What do you even? Oh no, I guess it's fine. And then I might rename this to observer index, but listener. Okay. Listener index. listeners. Okay. Sure, why not? All right. Yeah, it's good. So now we have a single listener, and then we have a multi-listener, I guess. Still might change the name, but basically it's just a simple callback. And then I guess the idea is like you could use like a type definition with it, and say like, oh, using, I don't know, event callback. Or events notifier, and then is equal to maybe we do this. I forget. Is equal to single notifier. I forget how that works. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So you just define it's like, oh, it's a single notifier with this type, right? And you could be like, okay, you notify, callback, whatever. So I'm going to use that quite a bit in the engine, different places, because I think I do like I do that in a few different places, but it doesn't feel managed. So this is like a nice uniform way of doing it. Maybe I'll put it in the front too. And these can go with the multi-notifier. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of coding. Okay, as long as this works, I'm going to get back to working on the graph. Let me just fill out some more modules. Let me check. Something real quick. I'm getting sleepy, man. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, actually, I think once this is done, I think I might call it. I'm trying to get myself to keep going, but for some reason I'm really tired. Ooh. Yeah, I think I might have to stop. Oh, dang. Kind of sucks too, because at the beginning of the stream, I had that whole issue with the connection not working. Yeah. So I think that kind of drains some of my energy. But yeah, I appreciate it, operator. Thanks for sticking by. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up, post it on YouTube, and then what is it called? Do my little like I'll do like a recap of like what I did this past week on my YouTube. And hopefully that'll be good enough for anyone who's like curious. Yeah, I just, you know, some days you just like, I'm really trying to think, but like I can't, you know what I mean? I don't know. Okay, I mean, it compiles, so this looks good. I'll go ahead and push the code off stream. But yeah, okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna call it. So again, thanks for anyone coming by and like chilling with me. Appreciate you, operator. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. No, yeah, I think so. But yeah, same time next week, same stream. Hopefully I get a little bit more progress done this week. I hope to get the rest of that code diagram done. And I think after that, I might really start working on implementing the code. And the first part of that is going to be, if I can find it, over here. Basically just removing all the static variables and singletons. Once I have that understanding of like the structure of the engine, it should be pretty easy to get rid of the singletons and just replace it with the new structure. So that'll be the next thing, and we will go from there. But yeah, all right, so I'm head out. Again, thanks for everyone sticking by, and yeah, later.